A 2-year-old child wanders away from camp at dawn, eats raw meat crawling with bacteria, drinks from a stagnant pool, and survives without a single antibiotic, because her gut is a fortress we can barely imagine today. Before fire became humanity's faithful companion, before the first spark caught on dry grass somewhere in East Africa, our ancestors lived in a world where every meal was raw, every night was black, and every calorie came at a cost that would kill most of us within a week. For roughly 2 million years, the Homo lineage walked upright, made tools, raised families, and spread across continents, all without the ability to cook a single thing. You're probably thinking, raw meat, savage existence, constant danger. But here's the twist. Those pre-fire humans weren't just surviving. They were thriving well enough to develop larger brains, create increasingly sophisticated tools, and outcompete every other hominid species sharing their world. The question isn't whether they survived without fire, it's how they did it so successfully that they became us. Let's start with the gut. Your stomach right now is a delicate thing. Feed it raw chicken, and you're looking at salmonella, campylobacter, maybe a hospital visit. Feed it undercooked pork, and you might meet a tapeworm. Our modern digestive system is specialized, efficient, and completely dependent on cooked food. We've outsourced half of digestion to fire. But 2 million years ago, the gut told a different story. Early Homo species had digestive tracts that functioned like biological hazmat suits. Their stomach acid was significantly more concentrated, pH levels closer to scavengers like vultures than to modern humans. This caustic environment didn't just break down raw protein, it annihilated bacteria that would hospitalize you today. E. coli, Salmonella, Listeria. These pathogens met their match in a gut designed by natural selection to process carrion that had been sitting in the sun for hours. The small intestine was longer, the colon more robust. Gut flora weren't just different, they were equipped to handle fermentation of raw plant material and meat simultaneously. Think of the gut microbiome as software. Ours runs on version 2.0, optimized for cooked food. Theirs ran on version 1.0, built for raw everything, and it worked. But strong guts only solve half the problem. Calories are the other half, and raw food is a terrible deal. A raw potato gives you maybe half the energy of a cooked one. Raw meat is tough, requires serious chewing, and even then, your body expends significant energy just breaking it down. The caloric return on investment is brutal. So how did brains, expensive, energy-hungry organs, get larger on such an inefficient fuel source? The answer involves teeth that would make a dentist weep. Homo habilis, one of our earliest tool-using ancestors, had molars the size of small coins. Their jaw muscles could generate crushing force that would crack bones, literally. These weren't teeth for smiling in selfies. These were industrial meat processors attached to a skull. Every meal was a workout. Chewing raw meat for hours wasn't occasional. It was constant, necessary, and the only way to extract enough calories to keep a slowly enlarging brain online. And they weren't eating steak. They were eating everything. Bone marrow became a delicacy because it's calorically dense and softer than muscle. Using those early stone tools, simple flakes of rock with sharp edges, they could crack open long bones that carnivores left behind. Lions kill, eat their fill, leave the skeleton. Early humans arrived with their Oldowan choppers and turned garbage into gold. That marrow is rich in fat, easy to digest even raw, and it doesn't require the gut-shredding effort of processing raw muscle tissue. Then, there's the scavenging advantage. You're picturing some noble savage hunting gazelles at dawn. Forget it. Early humans were opportunistic scavengers with a toolkit and a plan. A lion pride takes down a wildebeest at sunset, feeds through the night, and wanders off by mid-morning. That's when Homo habilis shows up. The carcass is picked over, sure, but there's still meat between ribs, marrow and bones, maybe brain tissue inside the skull. Using stone tools, they could access calories that no other scavenger could reach. This wasn't desperate survival. This was a viable ecological niche. Vultures get soft tissue. Hyenas get what's left. But humans with tools got the marrow and the brains, the fattiest, richest parts. And here's the thing about raw meat that just came off a fresh kill. It's actually safer than you think. The bacterial load on a recently dead animal is relatively low. It's when meat sits for days that it becomes a petri dish. Our ancestors weren't eating week-old carrion. They were processing fresh kills within hours, and their stomachs could handle the rest. Plant foods were equally critical, but required knowledge that would fill entire libraries. Not every plant is edible. Some are toxic. Others are nutritious only at certain times of year. Early humans needed encyclopedic knowledge of their environment, which roots, which fruits, which leaves, which seeds, and they needed to know when. Baobab fruit is still eaten today in Africa, raw and nutritious. Mongongo nuts, rich in protein and oil, require zero cooking. Figs, berries, wild tubers, early humans ate a salad bar that changed with every season. But processing plant foods raw is labor-intensive. Roots and tubers are fibrous, tough, packed with indigestible cellulose. So they chewed, and chewed, and chewed some more. Studies of modern hunter-gatherers who still eat significant amounts of raw food show they chew for 4 to 5 hours a day. Your jaw gets tired after 5 minutes. Theirs were built for marathons. Tool use turned impossible plants into possible ones. Some tubers are toxic when raw, but become edible if you pound them, which breaks down cell walls and releases certain compounds. Early stone tools weren't just for meat, they were food processors. Smashing, grinding, pounding plant material made it easier to digest and increased caloric yield. It's not cooking, but it's food preparation, and it mattered enormously. Then there's the climate. East Africa 2 million years ago wasn't a frozen wasteland. It was warm, often hot, with savannas and woodlands rich in resources. No need to huddle for warmth, no need to preserve food through smoking or drying over fire. Ambient temperatures meant scavenged meat didn't freeze overnight. It simply existed in a landscape where opportunistic feeders could thrive. Water was another matter. No fire means no boiling water, which means every sip from a waterhole is a gamble. Parasites, bacteria, amoebas, they're all waiting. But again, the gut fortress comes into play. Stomach acid that could dissolve bone also made short work of most waterborne pathogens. Diarrheal diseases would still strike, absolutely. Infant mortality from infections was likely high. But enough individuals survived to reproduce, and that's all evolution needs. Social structures helped. Groups share food, share knowledge, share protection. If one individual gets sick from a bad piece of meat, the others learn. If someone discovers a new edible plant, the information spreads. This kind of social learning, teaching, observing, imitating, doesn't require language as we know it, but it requires communication. Gestures, sounds, expressions. The ability to say, "Don't eat that," or "Follow me to the good stuff," is as valuable as fire in its own way. Night was the greatest challenge. Without fire, darkness is absolute. And in darkness, predators rule. Lions, leopards, hyenas, they all hunt after sunset. So early humans needed strategies. Trees became bedrooms. Sleeping in trees is uncomfortable but safe. Most large predators can't climb, and those that can, leopards mainly, can be detected by the movement of branches, the sound of claws on bark. A group sleeping in a tree, taking turns on watch, stands a reasonable chance. Caves offered another option, but caves come with problems. They're already occupied, by hyenas, by big cats, by other creatures that also want shelter. A cave isn't just free real estate, it's contested territory. Still, some early humans used them, especially during the day when predators were less active. Sleep in the tree at night, rest in the cave during the heat of the afternoon. But here's something most people miss. Without fire, you need less sleep. Modern humans sleep 7 to 9 hours, partly because we feel safe in the dark. We've got walls, locks, artificial light. We've outsourced vigilance. Early humans couldn't afford that. Polyphasic sleep, short bursts throughout the day and night, was likely the norm. You sleep when you can, wake at the slightest sound, stay alert. It's exhausting by our standards. For them, it was normal. Predation pressure shaped behavior in ways that still echo today. We fear the dark instinctively. We startle at sudden noises. We feel uneasy in open spaces at night. These aren't irrational fears. They're genetic memories written by 2 million years of living without fire, when the rustle in the grass could be your death. Then fire arrived, and everything changed. The earliest evidence of controlled fire use dates to around 1 million years ago, maybe earlier. But the key word is controlled. Lightning strikes caused fires long before that. Wildfires swept through savannas regularly. Early humans would have encountered fire, been terrified of it, possibly even scavenged cooked meat from animals caught in blazes. But using fire, keeping it alive, feeding it, controlling it, that took cognitive leaps in social organization. The first firekeepers probably didn't make fire. They captured it. A lightning-struck tree smolders for days. Carry a burning branch back to camp. Keep it alive with dry grass and wood. Protect it like your life depends on it, because it does. Losing the fire means going back into the raw food darkness, and once you've tasted cooked meat, once you've felt the warmth and safety of a fire circle, that's not an option. Cooking did something revolutionary. It outsourced digestion. Heat breaks down proteins and carbohydrates before they hit your stomach. A cooked tuber gives you twice the calories for half the effort. Cooked meat is tender, quick to chew, easy to digest. Suddenly, the same gut could process more calories in less time, which freed up energy. And where did that energy go? Into brains, into longer childhoods, into social complexity. Teeth got smaller, jaws became more graceful, gut length decreased. We stopped needing the industrial strength digestive system because fire did the heavy lifting. In evolutionary terms, this happened fast, hundreds of thousands of years, a blink. Modern humans, Homo sapiens, have guts optimized for cooked food. Feed us a raw-only diet, and we lose weight, struggle with infections, can't extract enough calories to maintain our big brains. But before fire, our ancestors did it. They walked out of the trees, spread across Africa, developed tools, raised children, and built the cognitive foundations for everything that came after. They lived in a world that would kill you in a week, and they made it look survivable. The wild part? Some of their adaptations are still in us, dormant. Your stomach acid is weaker than theirs, but it's still strong enough to handle more than you think. Your immune system still carries genetic echoes of a time when raw meat was breakfast. Put a modern human in a survival situation, and instincts kick in. Instincts refined over 2 million years of raw food living. We think of fire as the beginning of civilization, and it is. But before the beginning, there was something else. A long, brutal, remarkably successful chapter where humans survived on guts, grit, and the knowledge that every calorie mattered. They didn't conquer nature, they negotiated with it, tooth and nail, until they figured out how to turn rock into tools and tools into leverage. Fire didn't create humanity, it upgraded us. But the version that existed before, raw, resilient, relentless, that version built the foundation. Every time you light a stove, remember, your ancestors did this in the dark, with nothing but stones and stubbornness, and somehow that was enough.